Hey everybody, Liam Plisham here, and before I jump into this tutorial, I just want to address the name change of my channel. For a long time, I was freelancing as 531, and last year I took a full-time gig and also just really wasn't feeling the name 531 anymore. But yeah, I had tied it to my YouTube page as I was getting into freelance, thinking that would drum up more work, etc., etc., and it just didn't really feel like it fit anymore. So I have renamed the channel to Professionally Incorrect, basically feeling like that's kind of how I work as a motion designer. I get things professionally done and delivered in the best way possible, but sometimes it's just not the right pipeline way. I'm trying to discover how to just get the job done. And sometimes, yeah, there's pipeline faster ways that I should be using, but sometimes I kind of find cool, hacky ways to put stuff together and learn along the way. And that's kind of what this channel is about, is just like getting cool stuff created and done and out to clients and learning along the way. So just want to touch upon that before we jump into Houdini here, where we're going to be remaking this kind of snot thing. This came about the other day, just hanging out with some friends, and we did this thing called the 15-minute motion design challenge to see what we can make in 15 minutes. And this is what I ended up doing. And I thought, there's a lot of people that are convinced that you can't work quickly and efficiently in C4D and make general MoGraphy things. And I wanted to break this down and show that you can. So I'm going to first walk through the general setup for anyone that's already accustomed to Houdini, and then I will rebuild it too and talk about nodes in more detail, things like that. I also, before I recorded this, I was experimenting a little bit, and I might try and experiment a little bit more, getting some randomization in these points here. We'll see. It might land us on like a really long tangent, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to be nitpicky. I just want to make something quick. So we'll see. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the snot here. It's just remeshing VDBs in here. There we go. This back here is just a cyc. I may as well call that a cyc. And I don't remember what I was doing in Geo2. Doesn't matter. Anywho, this is the main thing and rendered in Redshift, and I can talk through the rendering and lighting and materials as we get further into it. But as a quick breakdown, what's happening is we've got a font SOP up here, and just going through to extruding it just a little bit, adding a bevel because that's what you're supposed to do with things. But you can see right here, this is where typography kind of breaks down in Houdini, and C4D does a better job with it. Yeah, not the best, and can bring that back a little bit. Whatever, it's fine. But if you really want to get into like some solid typography tools, Mops Plus has typography stuff in there, and it gets you going a lot faster. My goal here is to just use Houdini out of the box for this tutorial. Anywho, here I was experimenting if I wanted to do scattered points on top of the polygons here, like that. I can talk about that more as we go deeper into it. Ended up doing points from volume. This is a randomize for p-scale as we go into the VDB from particles, which are generating randomly scaled particles here. And then I'm dilating it a little bit just to get some like connection spots in here as well. Converting this down into a VDB so I can make a group and select the normals down here on the -y, like so, just bringing that down like that. Scattering some more points, I think it's about 50, 55, and then also manipulating the scale with a randomize like so, and then sweeping it, converting that into a VDB as well, and combining it here with, I guess I smoothed out the snot beforehand, and then going into this, smoothing it again so we get some of that blending together. It sounds like my phone is going off over my headphones. Hopefully that's not coming across on the recording. Sorry if it is. Converting this back to polygons, adding some normals like so. And you can see like get like a weird one right there, but that's okay. And throwing material on it, which renders in Redshift. So that is a very quick breakdown. What am I at? I'm at 5 minutes in, so super quick run through. But yeah, if you know Houdini, you pretty much understand what I'm doing here, and this is just an overview. Let's rebuild it. So I'm going to turn this off, jump in here, throw down a geometry, and we'll call this something like Snot 02. And you'll have to excuse the random Windows menu that keeps popping up. Also, I might like hit the thing that pops up over here. My new day job is on Mac, and I've gotten accustomed to having my Windows key set as my command key, and then when I jump back to Windows, I hit that all the time as self-control. Whole thing, but we'll get through it. All right, so throw down a font and back up just a little bit. Sure, that's fine. We'll call this one Snot as well. Maybe we'll change to like Arial, poor man's version of Helvetica. Actually, I'm going to leave that at 1, but maybe bring in the tracking a little bit closer. That seems okay. All right, so this is going to quickly fall apart. When I was doing my tests, I'm not going to do a bevel again. That was just what I did the first time. There's really no need for it with scattering, so we'll just do the regular poly extrude and X. There we go. If you're not aware, the general tab menu is contextual, so like I didn't have to type out poly extrude all the way. I can just do PEX, and it knows that I want the poly extrude. So good little workflow tip there to speed up your stuff. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Maybe we'll make this one a little bit thicker. Why don't we just do like a full 0.5, our value there. I can dig that. It doesn't really matter. So here's what I was talking about before with the scatter and why I went to points from volume. So you'll see right here, we're just getting these points on the surface. And if I go into a VDB from particles and connect this up, it'll do its thing. Let me scale this down a bit. I'm probably gonna need some more resolution here. Cut that in half. Probably need to go even lower. And you know, like, it does its thing, but I really want like some randomness to it. And once you scale down, you start to get these holes in here. So, you know, you can do a surface. It would probably get you there depending on how thick you want your word to be, but it wasn't working for me. So I'm gonna just kill that and do a points volume like so. Go over here, take a look at this, and this point separation is a little high. Why don't we do 0.05? That's probably enough. And we're going to jitter it a bit just to get some random spacing in there and throw a different seed on there. I'll just do 5 for the hell of it. Come in here and you'll see we're getting close. The one thing that I want to do is throw some randomization on here. So the way we're going to do that is an attribute randomize. What's happening is this VDB from particles is looking at an attribute called p-scale, which doesn't really exist, so it's just assuming 1 for all these point scales or particle scales, so p-scale. And we want to change that assumption. So attribute and randomize. Throw this in here, and you'll see we get a bunch of colors in here, and that's because we're getting this CD attribute, which is color diffuse, which we do not want. So we're going to change it to p-scale like so. And you'll see that goes away, and we actually don't even need this to be a vector, which was 3 dimensions, x, y, and z. P-scale, we can just do a normal float value like this. So I'm going to put this to like 0.1. I think in my experimentation I was doing like 0.1, and need to set this back up to 1 because this is a multiplier for this p-scale value. You can see now we're starting to get the details that I wanted, but I think we're going to need some more points here, and we might need to lower this down a little bit like so, maybe even half that. I don't even know if that's making that much of a difference because it's so small. Now I feel like that's getting too small. Yeah. All right. To each their own, that's good enough as a baseline to start with. And the warning it's saying here is things that are too small just weren't included in it. That's fine. This is a great start. So we're going to convert this, and we'll do convert VDB like so, like that, and change it from VDB to a volume. And we're pretty much good to go to start making our normal selections in here on the bottom. So let's do group. If you're coming from C4D, group selections are kind of like polygon selections in C4D. If you were to export this out, it would come in as a polygon selection. You can also do point selections, so on and so forth. But for the purpose of this, we can just do primitives and call it something like, oh, that's a weird error. I don't know. What would you call those things? Drips? Let's call them drips. Turn this off and turn that to normals. All right, so what's happening here is it's saying, look at the normals going in the Z direction, and we can pull it back like so, and it moves forward. If I were to make that -1, it'd go in the opposite direction if I bring some of this back in. And what we want is going from top to bottom. And right there, as we do this, this is actually like if you're piling up snow on an object. So it's putting on the top there, and we want the inverse like that. So we can just do -1, and probably don't need too many, something like that. And now we've got our group. So if you middle click on here, you can see we've now got this primitive group called drips. And we can use that to scatter points like I was showing before, but now we can isolate it to this area in here. And we come up to our group up in the corner here, get drips, and good to go. And I'm just going to do like 50 because that's what I was close to last time. These are so tight together that it might not be the best idea to do that, but we'll see what happens. All right, so the next thing I want to do is add some lines coming down from here, and we're going to copy some lines onto these points. So I'm going to make a line object, get a copy 2 points, which is kind of like Houdini's version of a cloner, except you've got more control ahead of time. Instead of making all those decisions in the cloner, you make them before you go in here. So we've decided these are the points that we want to clone onto, while in C4D you might have your menu over here and you say the object that you want to clone onto, and then decide if you want to clone onto vertices or points or faces, etc., etc. We're just making those decisions ahead of time. All right, so I'm going to turn on this template here. So that's what this little purple flag does. It lets you see the geometry up the stream a bit. And we can see that the lines are going up, even though we set to select the bottom normals. And that's kind of like what happened here, where we had to invert this. We're going to need to invert this here. And now we've got it. But they are all super long. So there's 2 ways we can go about this. We can just use the p-scale attribute again, and the lines will respect that if we want to do another attribute randomize. Or we can also do the attribute of scale, which is a vector, and then we can just set it on the y. I'm kind of the mindset of doing it as scale because I might want to switch this out to something else, a different kind of object. And if I'm doing p-scale, it'll scale the whole thing instead of scaling just on the y. So just for sake of clarity, I'm going to just call this scale in the attribute here. And we will go back up to, whoop, that's not what I want. We'll go up to 3 dimensions again, and you can see it's already starting to do it a little bit. I'm just going to rename this to drip length. Sure, that works. And I'm going to reset all these to be 1 and 1, so that way there's no randomization on the X or the Z, because remember, as I said earlier, X, Y, Z, and max that out to 1 as well. So now we're only getting randomization on the Y And if I control this right here, this is the global scale, you can see it shrinks them down. I think that's pretty good there. I don't want to have one going all the way down to 0. Why don't we do like 0.1 like that? And sure, let's mess with that. That seems pretty decent. All right, so here's what I was talking about at the beginning of the video, of potentially wanting to experiment a little bit. If I go back into my composite view just to preview this image, you can see like they're all really kind of linear. Like, yeah, they have this cool taper going on, but like Snot is going to have that taper, but also kind of like have some chunks in there too. And I kind of want to see if I can get some of that in there. And so I've been trying to decide like the best way to go about that. So one method I was thinking of is, I'm kind of just talking out loud for you all, is making more points along this line here. If I turn on my points right there, you'll see there's only 2 points, but adding a bunch of points and doing an attribute randomize on those points, p-scale, and doing kind of what we did up above. But then we don't get the taper as well. So then I was like, okay, how can we do that plus tapering? And I think I found a way as I was experimenting, but it seems like it's not quite perfect. So let's walk through this a little bit. If you want to do the method that I already did with like the clean drips, that's a sweep, just like a sweep in C4D. And we're going to plug this in here. And it's giving us an error because it's looking for something to do across the cross sections, like a circle or any kind of shape there. We can actually just set it to round tube and get pretty close. At our end caps, I'm going to do a grid so we get this kind of bulge right there. And our radius is probably too big. And we can come in and set the scale. And you'll see like this only has lines for our geometry at the top and the bottom. We need some more for our scale to like really be effective. So we can do it 2 ways. We can either add them here beforehand, but that could also make copying a little bit more intensive, or we can throw down a resample. And what that does is resamples the lines and creates more points across them evenly, like so, and by length, like that. Or you can set maximum segments if you only want 10, or if you want 4, or however many. Depending on the situation, one is better than the other for say like animating lines and things like that, where if you have it on maximum segment length, the shorter or longer it gets, it's going to adjust way more with the points, while maximum segments tries to keep the same amount of points, so on and so forth. So there's different purposes for doing this. Let's just make it cool 0.2. Come back in, we don't need to see these anymore. And now as we manipulate this, we can get some things going on. I'm just going to open this up so I can select better. Sorry, my Wacom is being weird. There we go. I don't think we need to go all the way down to 0, something like that. And I'm going to go ahead and change these to a Bezier so we get like that clean sweep in there. Click. Oh, there I go again. Let's see. Why? Click off. Come on, Wacom. There we go. And we can pull this, just that, down. But now, like, yeah, we've got randomization because of the length, but they all look the same. So this is where I was thinking about trying to add them in this randomness. So something that we can do is create this attribute called curveview. And what that's going to do is we go into our geometry spreadsheet, creates a value from 0 to 1 for all these lines, and it's calculating it based on its length. So you can see in here, these numbers are different before it gets all the way up to 1, and that's because we were at completely different lengths for all of those lines in there. But it's really cool because it gives you this 0 to 1 value to control things. So like this here, technically this is a 0 to 1 value, like curveview, and it's sweeping across that value. We can use that to our benefit with p-scale. So I guess the quickest way to show that is by doing an attribute rename, but we're actually not going to use this as we go forward. It's just for demonstration purposes. And rename, there we go, like so. And we're going to go ahead and take that curve view and rename it to p-scale, like so. And what that's doing is, if we look at our properties here, we've got curve view in there, and now it's been renamed to p-scale, like so. And we can reuse like this VDB from particles to show that, but the multiplier is super high, so we don't need all that. And there you go. You can see we're getting that taper that we're getting here, but it's just made up from these points and being turned into a VDB. We need a little bit more detail in here because we're losing some of it up at the top there, which maybe I can get back in there. This is what I was kind of experiencing before, was just like weird not getting all the details that I really wanted all the way at the top. And I know it's probably because this is set to 0 and I need to remap some of the details in there so it's not like a 0 at the top. But even when I was remapping it, I started to get weird stuff. So let's go ahead and play with that. What I mean by remapping is taking that 0 to 1 attribute of curve view, which is now applied to p-scale, and changing it to like 0.5 to 1. And if we do a remap, like so, we can play with this, and we want p-scale, we don't need a new name. I'm gonna just bring this up a little bit. And so that starts to bring that back in, but like, look how far down it is before it brings it back in. So that's just like kind of weird in a sense. So yeah, I don't know that I really want to go down this path. I'm kind of just showing this to you to talk about like how I'm thinking about these things in Houdini. So now that we've got this remapped, we can try and do some noise across it and see if it helps, or randomization. I'm guessing we'll do an attribute adjustment for float right in here, which I just thought of will probably give us the same controls that we just did with the remap. I'm going to kill this and see if that's true. And let's, it's not doing it. Let's try multiply. Maybe not. Maybe it's not going to do that like I thought it would. Add constant noise. Nope. It's not doing it the way that I thought it would. Okay. So we'll keep this in here and kill this. I'm going to get back out of that if it will let me. There we go. And let's do, or not randomized, noise. Float. So, and this is one of the fun things about Houdini, is just like trying out different things. Oh, was I not even on that VDB from particles? The fun of making tutorials and messing up as you're recording them. All right, let's try this again. Was I? Oh, that's why I didn't have VDB from particles on. All right, so you can see everybody makes mistakes. So, dumb moment. So we're going to multiply like that. We're multiplying a constant. Let's try multiplying some noise in there. Okay, we're getting something. Wonder what happens if I turn that off. I'm going to delete that out of here. Do we get any kind of ramp in here like before? No, so we kind of need this first pass on here to get these up like so. And then we'll bring this up like so. Okay, so what's happening here, to break down, is we have gone in and changed our curve view to p-scale. We are now remapping our p-scale from that 0 to 1 value that we had before up here, so we get all the data that we want, and starting around like 0. I'll make it even 4 to 1 now. And if we go take a look in our geometry spreadsheet and I highlight this one here, see our p-scale starts at 0.4 and goes to 1. So exactly what we wanted. And then we're coming in and randomizing those values a little bit. So we're multiplying against these. We could also add against them. That would be fine too. I'm just more of a fan of multiply. And if we start at 0, 0 times anything is 0, so it's basically deleting all the work that we just put in. If we did an add, you'd see that it does that instead. Like we might be able to add nothing and then add some more. And let's play around with our element size. This is going to control how big the noise is. And you can see we're starting to get some other weird shapes in there like so. I don't know if I'm really digging that, but I think it's kind of working a little bit. I'm also rethinking this of like, what if we just did the sweep and then scattered some more points on there and did some scaling on that, because we've already got this really nice shape. Yeah, because this isn't really giving me the result that I want. So let's backtrack and try that. All right, so that was a fun little side tangent. I warned you at the beginning that might be coming. So we took that trip. Let's try scattering on this here. And I'm going to template this so we can see what's going on. Scatter some points. Let's do 100. That's not enough. Let's do 1,000. Okay, good enough. And you can see they're in there. If you can't turn them on like that, now you can see them. And let's try doing what we were just doing. I'm just going to copy this up here. Copy this up here. Oh my gosh, fingers. All right, one more time. Copy this from up there, pipe it in down here. All right, we're getting some cool randomness in there. I'll accept that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna bring it down just a little bit more, like so. And maybe bring this up to like 0.1, 0.5 again. I think that's too much. Yeah, something like that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is do a merge here and bring this in here, like so. And that's not going to work because that's looking for VDB from particles, and I want VDB from polygons for this other sweep. So VDB from polygons is just like VDB from particles, but it's going to do it from the faces of the geometry instead. As long as it's closed off, VDB polygons, like so. Throw that in there, and we get that shape. We're going to need some more detail, so go down like that. Looking good. And then we can do a VDB combine, which is like a Boolean operation for these things. And if you're not familiar with Booleans, it's just like adding two things together, or multiplying or subtracting and doing an operation like this. So we're going to do union, like so. Okay. I think this is going somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and, make sure I save. I think I have autosave on. Do I? Yes, okay. But I want to make sure I saved anyway. Then go into reshape. No, I don't want to reshape. I want to smooth it this time. So VDB smooth. And we're going to do SDF. VDB smooth SDF applies to these more solid shapes, where a VDB smooth would apply towards like a fog volume. There we go. All right, this is looking like it's heading somewhere. Getting some like random gloopiness in our drips. Cool. That's basically what I was going for. All right. Sorry for like that 10-minute tangent. That's what I wanted. So we're doing good so far. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and do another VDB combine type scenario on this one and this one here. Got that going on, and we're starting to get to where we were in the other one. So let's go ahead and throw down another VDB smooth. VDB smooth. And smooth these together a little bit. I'm going to do this mean and not so many iterations. That's still not great. I might need to reshape this a little bit. I'm starting to lose that detail. What do I want to do? How's that? That's at 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. If I bring up the detail on this, 0.5, and I do the same for these, so keep some more. Okay, there we go. And then as I smooth it down and merge, let's do mean instead. Gaussian. Gaussian's way too heavy. I think mean is doing enough in there. Ooh, I kind of like, I didn't see this before, that like drip right in the middle of the N there. That's kind of cool. All right. So we're basically where we were in the other one, and we just need to convert it. So I'm going to convert it to VDB again, and go to polygons, and there we go. We've got that. Something that might be fun though is to try and connect some of these together some more. I don't know if I really want to do that right this second. That'd be fun in a future tutorial. Just like scattering some points on here and connecting them together and then running through a VDB again and get some like more stringiness across that. Yeah, that'd be fun at some point. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly hit save on this. Again, we're kind of at the same point that we were before. I guess that's still legible. That T is not great. Now here comes the fun of proceduralism. I'm gonna find something else to try, and let's see, curls. That'd be silly. Let's see what curls looks like. Gosh, that's horrible. All right, kill sands. Sometimes that's fun. Also has a weird T. What is this one? Ugh. PT sands. Maybe bold. Not great. If I spread out the tracking a little bit more, I guess we get some of that back in there. I really liked having the other one, and I was not going to try and use the same typeface this time, but maybe I need to. I think I used Babus for the other one. B-E-do-do-do. There we go. Babus. Yeah, but that's all uppercase. I really want to try something lowercase this time. Agency, do you have lowercase? No, that looks terrible. Oh boy. This is Hebo. Hebo medium. Alright. Same kind of T issue going on, but ooh, getting too close. Do negative 0.1. About negative 0.05. All right, we're getting like a little dimple in there, which lets us see the T a little bit more. So that's okay. That's working. All right. All right, let's talk about materials really fast. I'm not going to go through it in full detail, but just in general. So I'm going to throw down this material and talk about what I did. And there's the slime, and I'll get my IPR going. Let's pop open. Let's see if it behaves with OBS running. All right. So all right, so I don't have that cycle on. I'm going to turn that on so we get some contrast in there. And the lighting's not the exact same, so that's not great either, but it'll work for these purposes. So what's happening? Come on, go in. In my standard material that I've created, I've just got a little bit of reduction on the weight of our diffuse color here, and I'm using the new standard material. Got some green in the reflection and a little bit of roughness, and then really cranking up some subsurface with this color in there. And I think I even gave just a little bit of transmission for some translucency purposes. And I'm going to go in and turn up this dome light just to give a little bit clearer picture. That's too much. And let this bucket render really quick. So, but yeah, this is kind of the breakdown of it, is just like a little bit of reduction in the base color weight, just to let the subsurface scattering have some more room to breathe. Really pulled back the reflection and added just a little bit of roughness in there, and then a little bit of transparency in there. Not even 10%, like I'm like at 9, and then quite a bit of subsurface too, about 70%, and then the scale is at about 70% as well. Probably add some more reflection in there, I guess, because Snot's kind of reflective. Crank this back up to like a white green. See how that looks. This is all personal preference. Cool. Okay, so like that's basically the build. Is you're taking some text and you're extruding it, and then you are grouping the normals on the bottom. Well, actually, you're turning it into a VDB first, and then converting it to a polygon, and then grouping on the bottom of those, and then doing your line stuff that I went off on a whole tangent about, and then we ended up with this here by scattering points on those lines, merging it all into a VDB again, smoothing it so we get some of those connections in there, and that's that. That's basically how you make some snotty MoGraphy text in Houdini. So as always, thanks everybody for sticking around with me and being a subscriber and all that jazz. If you like what I'm doing, go ahead and subscribe. If you're not already a subscriber, comment below, etc., etc. Yeah, hopefully I can get back into making some more of these. I just looked and it's been like 5 months since I've done one. So yeah, pretty inconsistent now. I know. I need to get back into it. But I appreciate those that have stuck around. So thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one.